Hello and welcome to my channel. Today, thanks to the kindness of my patrons, I love you all dearly, we are diving into the most wanted list for End of Dragons, the upcoming Guild Wars 2 expansion slated to release sometime in 2021. Now I know well the features and changes I want to see, but I wanted to cast the net wider, so I asked my fellow Tyrians what you wanted, and many of you were kind enough to let me know. So let's talk about the community's wish list, aside, of course, from awesome story, new armors, weapons, mounts, masteries, emotes, and of course, wonderful immersive environments, all of which are an absolute given for any Guild Wars 2 expansion. So aside from all those nerdy nummies, what are we wanting? Well, it will be of no surprise that players want a new playable race. To the astonishment of no one, of course, it is the Tengu topping the charts, but on that long wish list are Quaggons. Really? Quaggons, guys? Okay. Coden, I can get behind. Awakened? Okay, yeah. And how can we forget the legendary Lagos? So yeah, it's a fairly long wish list for new races. The question for the developers is, how can we have a new race inserted into the game without unraveling all that old lore? There is one proven solution that I can think of. So hear me out, this is the pitch. New races going forward in future expansions, including End of Dragons, will start at level 70 and have a unique tutorial leveling zone, allowing new players to acclimatise to Guild Wars 2 combat and ethos. Once your Tengu, Coden, Awakened, Lagos, Quaggon, insert your preferred new race here, reach level 80, they can then jump into whichever expansion they have access to and or want to play. Now, if our beloved dev team are nervous about the learning curve for brand spanking new players, they could lock these heroic races starting at higher levels, so that only players who have an existing max level character can roll one. I think it's not necessarily needed, but it's arguably a reasonable option. I most assuredly cannot take credit for this idea. It has been done in other games to great success, I might add. So honestly, I think if the devs embrace the fact that new playable races will be excluded from the personal story, the vanilla content, I'm sure us players can get on board with that as well. And honestly think a new playable race would be a big selling point for expansions, this expansion and all expansions going forward. Fingers crossed for that one. On to, of course, player housing, which is another much requested feature. We already have an instance home in each of the racial capitals, but many of us would like to see the functionality of the Guild Hall decoration system added to these at the very least. Personally, I would love to see the introduction of player housing in all the major cities in the world, as well as homestead plots for those of us who prefer to be closer to nature. There could be beach, mountain and tree houses, desert camps and caravans, as well as live-on ships, airships, and even subterranean oceanic dwellings. Honestly, I think it would be a wonderful selling point for End of Dragons. As to the time needed to create all these new assets for housing, well, I would say that we have a massive amount of existing art in the game that could be reused, existing assets in the game, decorations, buildings, etc. And these items could be appended to existing boss loot tables and events, and they could also add a whole host of achievement reward unlocks to flesh out this new feature. Personally, I would want the lion's share of player housing items to be unlocked via gameplay, but it is a viable cosmetic revenue stream to support the live services that they offer. Housing could also complement other requested features like, for example, book collections. People have been wanting a library, and a library room could form part of the housing system where players can keep, for example, a journal of all their adventures, allowing them to replay epic in-game cinematics and story moments whenever they want to. That would be very handy for content creators. Now, of course, there could be whole collections of books and tomes and scrolls for players to gather together. They could do this for numerous items in-game. It could be a treasure trove of hunting and gathering for players to fill up their homes with. And let us not forget the raiders and PvPers, because there could be display rooms in our houses to show off the trophies and accolades we've won in raids and fractals and PvP and World v World, and even trophies for story completion and story achievements. And perhaps even a crafting room to show off all the exotic items we have been able to make. There could even be a viewing mode for other players' houses. Willing players allow others to kind of traipse through their house and explore and see what they've done. This feature could spawn a whole host of player-created content, contests and hype for the new expansion. I really would like to see it. Fingers crossed again. New elite specializations. Of course, players are looking forward to the new elite specializations. The most frequently requested that I've seen in my discourse here is Elementalist Archer for the longbow lovers out there, and Revenant Dark Knight for some great sword glory. Now, players also want to see Ritualist Monk reimagined and reintroduced into the game. And many are asking for the Paragon, but I think that would have made more sense with the Path of Fire. But hey, if we're asking for what we want, Paragon 2, please. Thank you. Okay, so let me know what combos you would like to see for the Elite specializations. I'm hoping personally for a water-focused healing and control elite for elementalists using the Trident weapon. In fact, I have to say I have seen many people requesting a new lease of life for the aquatic weapons, spears and tridents being most vigorously called for, and you can understand why. Untapped glory right there. There are, of course, hopes for brand new game types and crafting and resource collecting, so let's talk about fishing. Of course, fishing has been wanted, I think, since launch, if we're all going to be completely honest with ourselves. And fishing could well breathe new life into the coasts, lakes, rivers, oceans of Tyria. Fishing could also open up new skill branches of cooking and armor smithing and jewel crafting. Fishing definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Fishing also marries well with another requested feature, and I've seen it a few times. It's one of the more out there suggestions, but ships. Yes, from simple log rafts to stately galleons, these seafaring vessels could open up a new way to travel the world, farm resources, as well as housing possibilities, and even open up tantalizing new combat opportunities. People like that pirate life, man. What can I say? And moving on to turtles, yes, but not cutie little turtles, but siege turtles. If you want to check out the lore associated with sea turtles, top right hand corner for one of my Cantha videos up there, I'll link them both, the ones that I've done, because sea turtles, and specifically battle sea turtles, are canon in Cantha, I will have you know, and there have been calls to reintroduce turtles to the world, siege turtles to the world, for both PvE, open world, and indeed World v World maps and combat too. I hasten to add, it's also canon that giant sea turtles, and specifically their shells, are used as housing in the canon. Canon, canon, canon. Fingers crossed, sea turtle house for me. On to another requested addition to the game. For many, many years, alliances, player-made, as well as Kurzik and Luxon, perhaps in dedicated battlegrounds for both, as well as perhaps introducing some options for open world, PvP, Guild v Guild, Alliance v Alliance, Luxon v Kurzik. There are numerous titles which allow players to flag for PvP in the open world. And with the already baked-in rivalries of Kurzik and Luxon, well, it could be the ideal opportunity to introduce this feature into the game. Now, please note, this is completely optional. I am not in favour of forcing players into PvP open world combat. Far from it. But I think for those who want it, it would be nice for them to have the chance to try it out and see if they can do some awesome stuff. It would be fun to see, at least. Possibly in designated areas, so you're not having to wade through too many bodies to get to the heart vendor. Now let's talk about some quality of life features. So Guild Wars 2 is renowned for its fashion wars, and rightly so. However, there are a few tweaks I would like to see to enhance this feature. So, Fashion Wars fanatics would like to see dyeable weapons, of course they would, and dyeable back skins, which I think would be pretty damn awesome. Color coordination matters 100%, and I would personally like the ability to be able to create swatches too. That's just me. It's a wish list. I'm asking. Don't ask, don't get. More Fashion Wars are fussing because at the moment, previewing gear is, well, I've got to be real, it's not great. I would like to see enhanced preview options which allow players to increase the size of the viewing window that they are previewing in, and to be able to zoom in and out, as well as to reposition their avatar. Ideally, there could be an in-game dressing room, perhaps as part of the new housing system that you're suddenly going to put into the game because we suggested it here. That would be wonderful. So inside the room, be it part of the housing or not, inside the room, you can try on any item you wish live on your avatar. It just looks like you have equipped it. You can change and alter the light levels and color temperature in the room, and then players could even mess about perhaps with trying out different infusion stacks. All just preview when you leave the room, unless you decide to accept the changes that you've made. You just leave the room in the armor that you were wearing when you arrived. But having real size, real ability to turn it round, real ability to really mess around and experiment in a dressing room, I think would be brilliant. I hope perhaps you'll consider, but at least enhance the viewing window so that we can make it big, zoom in and out. Please, preview is not good at the moment. I would also like to see transmutation charges consigned to the history books. Oh, please allow us to change our look when and how we wish without restriction. It is just irritating. Transmutation charges limit player enjoyment, inhibit creativity, and stifle content creation. There are countless videos that I would have made by now, but I am stuck farming transmutation charges. It's frustrating. If there must be constraints on Fashion Wars, I don't know why there would be a need to constrain it. It's just fun. But if there must be, have an in-game charge, like say 10 silver to change an item's look. Just so restrictive, it's stifling creativity. Please get rid of transmutation charges. In the same vein, I would like to see an in-game barber's shop where players can change their character's look without having to go to the gem store. This kind of customization is in numerous games, and I think it really should be done inside the game engine for a small in-game currency cost. It's just fun to change the look of your character. It shouldn't be a big deal. It should just be on a whim because it's fun. For such a small change, it could have a real freeing effect on the Fashion Wars. These two things together, you would see more videos, more content, more players experimenting and having fun with how their characters look. Honestly, I think opening these features up would garner, I'm going to say, a lot of goodwill in the community. If only from me. Huge amount of goodwill from me. Guaranteed 100%. Pure love. The next title is, on my notes, End the Inventory Wars. Ah, yes. So, backspace management, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's not that fun. And as it's married to the explosive amount of trash items we collect in the game, This activity becomes time-consuming, frustrating, and needs some TLC. I still love you, but it's not good. Okay, so now we're going to head into a critique of some of the less liked monetization in the game. I know most players, me included, are happy to accept customization cosmetics. That's fine. Running a live service, this kind of financial bridging is an industry standard now. That's fine. However, there are a few areas where I think change would have a positive effect on new player retention specifically. Remember, this is not a slight against the game. I love the game. This is not a slight against the devs. The devs are wonderful, hardworking, and we want to support them. This is purely focused on an aspect of the game, a commentary on things that are happening that I think is having a detrimental effect on player retention and the community. So please bear that in mind before you beat me up. You can, of course, beat me up, that's fine. Okay, I'm going in. So, here we go. Bag slots and stackable materials. Yep. These systems for new players can make the gem store seem more predatory than it actually is, and they feel like almost compulsory purchases. The solution is, I think, very simple. Increase the base carry capacity and the bank tabs and the stackable storage for players who have purchased the expansions. I think that's fair. For new people coming into the game, the current inventory restrictions are punitive and antithetical to player retention. So that's my thoughts on new players and the restrictions on inventory. And what was your experience when you first jumped into the game? Did you find them restrictive? Did you find it okay? Did you feel like you had to purchase things from the trading post? How would you fix it? Let me know in the comments below. I think this is such a problem for new player retention. I want all the feedback that I can possibly get to try and help make the game as successful as possible, especially as the game is heading onto Steam. Please constrain the gem store to cosmetic items only. There seems to be a little bit of a mission creep going on here, which is hampering the game and I think to a certain degree its community. And the same goes for loot boxes and their keys. I think they need to be kicked into touch before the EU and UK gambling legislative bodies force your hand. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, they might have already started to legislate about gambling. So, yeah. End of sticky and uncomfortable conversations. Moving on to lighter topics. So, the reward system in Guild Wars 2 has always been a unique flower, and there are many things to love about it. That said, I personally would welcome a rebalancing and or reduction in trash drops. And now, when I say trash, I'm including everything that is not exotic and above. It's all trash. Forgive me, it really is. Please, pretty please with sugar on top and a bow. For the sake of my sanity, condense the loot drops. I would rather have far less items, but items of actual value, than drown in an ocean of trash. And guys, the bagception has to end. It must. And in this note, I guess we're not stopping the uncomfortable conversations. Yay. So there have been calls to rein in the grind for achievement reward gear. The last list for that lovely arm, shoulder, crystal, majestic thing. I think that broke people, yes. Players have been burnt to a finely charred husk by the volume and scale of the achievement hoops that they are required to jump through. There has to be a happy medium out there somewhere, the Goldilocks zone for these things. Because honestly, as it stands right now, I took one look at that list and I gave up before I began. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to do it. It is not casual friendly. It's just too much. Still love you guys, but it's too much. You broke my heart and my brain. I can't do it. Okay, let's talk about the living world. So to help, again, me obsessed new player retention, please make the living world content free. Always. Hear me out before you go, no. For season 2, make that part of the free-to-play model. Yay, you see, because it's part of that. It goes hand in hand. And then for all the other seasons, give that to players who have paid for the Path of Fire expansion. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think locking off content for paying customers whose only sin is arriving late to the party is a bit meh. Show them some love. They deserve it. They've joined the party, they've given you some money. Let them have the living world so that they can bridge the stories and enjoy it all and fall more in love with the game. I adore Guild Wars 2. I cannot wait for End of Dragons, so you can be assured that any and all of my critiques here come from a place of love. I want nothing more than the success of this brilliant game. I want to grow our wonderful community, always. Let me know in the comments what changes you would like to see in the game to help new players get into Guild Wars 2, and again, what your starting experience was like. We must do better. We're going to help our buddies get in game. So, that's my most wanted goodies for End of Dragons, along with a few requests for gameplay tweaks. I hope you enjoyed it or didn't hate it too much. Down but the crap out of it if you did, and while you're down there stabbing that dislike button, please do comment, subscribe, ring that bell, maybe change that dislike to a like. I don't mind. And whilst you're furiously typing how rubbish I am, please do show some love to Arthur, Why You Need My Name, Cody, Kildare, Cub, Molini, Jolly Joestar, Dark Griever, and all my wanderers, fantabulous Patreons, without whom I would be unable to dedicate the time and resources to my channel. I can never thank you all enough. If you would like to join my band of nerdy awesomeness, links to my Patreon page below. And if you feel inspired, and I truly hope you do, because Guild Wars is awesome, not perfect, but awesome, there are referral links down there to the free-to-play game and the Path of Fire expansion, which now includes all the content from the Heart of Thorns expansion too. Hooray! Thanks to the generosity of ArenaNet and their partner program, of whom I am a proud affiliate. Using any of these referral links directly supports my channel, but costs you not a brass farthing more. Now I hope you'll come back and join me for more Guild Wars 2 goodness with a lot less critique next time. But until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and as always, thank you so much for watching.